You know that feeling when you are playing a game, but you're pretty sure you don't know all the rules, especially when it's the game of money. Well, that's really the core idea behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Today on Wealth Lessons, we are going to unpack how the advice from two totally different fathers, one rich, one poor, ended up creating a whole new way of thinking about wealth. So, the whole story revolves around this young boy who's kind of caught between two really powerful mentors. You have got his actual father, who he calls his poor dad, and then there's his best friend's father, his rich dad. Now, on surface, you might think you know whom to listen to, but trust me, their stories are going to surprise you. I mean, look at this. On paper, you'd put all your money on highly educated dad, right? This guy had a PhD, flew through 4 years of undergrad in just two, and went to some of the best schools in the country: Stanford, Chicago, Northwestern, all on full scholarships. And the other dad, he didn't even clear the 8th grade. Okay, and this is where the puzzle really starts to come together. Both men were super successful in their careers. They were strong, influential guys who both earned a lot of money. But one of them ends up as the richest man in Hawaii, leaving millions to his family, and the other struggles with money his whole life and left behind a pile of unpaid bills. The difference wasn't in their paychecks, it was all there in their mindset. And this right here is where their paths just completely split. It wasn't just that they were living different lives. It's like they were operating from two totally different financial rule books. The first big clash was philosophical. Poor Dad always said that love of money is the root of all evil. But Rich Dad, he flipped it. He said, no, the lack of money is the root of all evil. A completely different way of looking at it. Poor Dad's advice is probably the advice most of us have heard our whole lives. Study hard, get good grades, and find a safe, secure job with a good company. It's the classical employee mindset. Focus on security, climb that corporate ladder. But Rich Dad, wow, he took the same starting point, study hard, and pointed it in a completely different direction. His goal was not to work for a good company. It is to find a good company to buy. That's the fundamental shift from an employee mindset to an owner's. Their whole approach to risk was just night and day. Poor Dad's philosophy was all about avoiding risks. Play it safe, don't lose money. For him, money was something you had to protect. Rich Dad, on the other hand, taught that risk wasn't something to run away from. It was something you had to understand and learn how to manage. And this one might be the most powerful difference of all. That's their motivation. Poor Dad would often say things like, the reason I am not rich is because I have your kids. But Rich Dad, he said, the reason I must be rich is because I have your kids. It's the exact same circumstance, but one person sees it as an obstacle and the other sees it as the ultimate inspiration. And this is the central lesson of the whole thing. Their words weren't just words. They were like tools that were actively building their financial relations every single day. For instance, just think about a single phrase we have all probably used at some point. Poor Dad's default phrase was always, I can't afford it. And that's it. It is a statement. It's the end of the conversation. It ends all possibilities. It's like a mental dead end. Rich Dad, however, absolutely forbade those words. He said it's a sign of mental laziness. So instead, he forced his brain and the kid's brain to reframe it as a question. How can I afford it? Think about that. I can't is a statement that just shuts your brain right down. There's nowhere to go. But how can I? That's the question. It forces your brain to wake up, to start looking for an answer and creating possibilities. It is the difference between a locked door and a puzzle just waiting to be solved. It turns out our thoughts can literally become self fulfilling prophecies. Our dad was constantly saying, I'll never be rich. And guess what? That prophecy came true. He was basically programming his own mind for financial failure. This all leads to a really crucial distinction Rich Dad made. He would say there's a huge difference between being poor and being broke. He might be broke after a big investment didn't work out, but he was never poor. Why? Because being broke is temporary. It's a situation. But being poor, that's the state of mind. That, he argued, is eternal. So we have got this kid, and he is presented with two incredibly powerful but completely opposite philosophies on life and money. He is standing at the crossroads and he has to make a choice that's going to set the course for his entire life. And at just 9 years old, he made his choice. He decided to listen and to learn from his rich dad. He chose to follow that unconventional path to figure out how money really works, even though it meant challenging everything his own highly educated father believed in. Years and years later, he realized that his life altering decision was perfectly summed up in one of his favorite poems by Robert Frost. It became this powerful metaphor for two paths that were laid out in front of him all those years ago. Those two roads in the poem, there were two paths offered by his dad. One was the well known path of job security, playing it safe, and the path of his poor dad. But he chose the other one, the road less traveled, the one of financial education, taking calculated risks. And he says that that is what has made all the difference. So, at the end of the day, the biggest takeaway is this: our financial future isn't shaped by our paycheck as much as it is shaped by our philosophy. It is shaped by the words we say to ourselves and the belief we hold deep down. And so the real question isn't just for the author, it's for every single one of us. Which road will you take?